Welcome, people. Welcome. Christopher Zidane Matthew Show once again. Remember, like, subscribe, and share the videos. Big up yourselves. So, for the first time, I am going to blame Arsenal's coach for this disappointing result. We didn't play well last week. And it was, the players were flat for most of it. And Leeds were good as well last week. Leeds were very good, and I thought we were fortunate to leave the game last week with all 3 points. This week, it's a little bit different because I don't think Southampton was great. They played well enough, though, to stay in the game. But it's the Premier League. It's one of the best leagues in the world. Most leagues in the world are not going to run through the leagues and do have problems in some games. Surely not the Premier League. It's one of the competitive, top-level league, competitive league. And Arsenal is not a type of team in terms of the type of squad that you expect them to run through the league. So all of this is within the context. So we appreciate what they have done thus far. And they're competing for the Premier League title right now, which a lot of us, including myself, never expected us to do. Yeah, I always thought we were definitely good enough to make the top 4 for sure. And it's the top 4 in England is not really a given unless you're Man City. I think everybody else except for Man City can be in a tussle for being in the top 4 based on how the other clubs are good in terms of players. The only thing I think separates them is that Man City have 2 players who are just out of class, Erling Haaland and Kevin De Bruyne. An overall fantastic team. And they have the best coach of all time, which makes a significant difference. It is important. So we never expect Arsenal to run through the league, but we still have to analyze and break down the game. And hopefully a lot of persons in England see it the way or I see it, and they will mention it and discuss it, so Arteta will hear it. So then he can reflect and realize that I think he was the main one, the main culprit for us dropping points at Southampton. And I'm going to focus on that. And people, whenever analysis is being done, there are always going to be other reasons, and depending on how the percentage that you place on that reason versus that reason. So this is not the only reason why we drop points today. People can also point to other reasons. When you watch the video, you can comment. And you can tell us some other things that you think cost us all 3 points this morning. Whether it's Southampton was really good and deserved the point, or Arsenal could have done some things better. Now, we're going to discuss other teams as well, but not as long as in terms of Arsenal. We're going to talk about United yesterday and Chelsea and also Liverpool. We're not going to talk about Tottenham. We don't really want to talk about the London rivals. A joke, but we're going to focus on the ones that I mentioned. So, we started the game extremely well. And I think we need to try, and when we're playing so well and we're on top, we need to try and score more than 1 goal. The most difficult thing to do in football is to put the ball in the back of the net. So it's not easy. But sometimes we are so dominant, you want more goals. And we need to create more when you're so much on top. I think Odegaard needs to add more goals to his games. He needs to score. So he's technically too good. And it's a getting. I know he's the architect of most of the play and the build-up. So he might not be in the position as often as others, because he's the one who is starting it all, because he's technically the best player that we have in the middle of the park. So he's the one that is going deep, fetching, turning, twisting, making that pass that leads to the final pass. So maybe Granit Xhaka, as he did today, is getting into the box more often because he's making the runs as opposed to him being on the ball trying to create. So I understand that he's not going to be in the box as often as Lampard used to do in the past. But once he does, once the play ends up wide or rebuilding from the flanks, and Odegaard do make those runs inside the 18-yard box, he has to do better. He got one in the game and he got one last week, and he keeps not hitting the target. He's technically too good not to be hitting the target more often. So that's disappointing. But we started so well. and we were in charge. Southampton came back into the game as expected. We had a tough game on Thursday. While he rested some players, most of the players played the game. So we expected that the intensity was going to drop off somewhat, and in Southampton, man. But we dealt with them defensively. There was not a lot of cause for concern, even though Southampton got those corners and all of that. Was no major cause for concern. But second half now, we were bad. We weren't sharp. We were slow in everything that we were doing. Nothing was happening for us in that second half. And you saw something moment of a Southampton keep building and building and building. And I was saying to myself, it's not looking good right now. It's not as if everybody is they're just overhauling us and we're not playing well. So you want to stick to your gun. It's just that we weren't looking as sharp. Players weren't looking as sharp. Arteta should have made a change before. He knew it. When a team is playing particularly well and they concede, you don't immediately when they concede go to the bench. Usually, especially at the moment when they concede at the time in the game, I think it was 64 minutes, 63 minutes. A lot of time is left. When a team concedes at that stage of a game and the change comes immediately after, it means that the coach knows the players weren't playing well and these changes were needed. He needed to be more proactive people. He reacted. He should have made a change before. And Tierney came on and did a job. And it looked good, and we were offering something different down that left-hand side. It was providing more pace, more width, and it was creating problems for the right back of Southampton. But that change should have come before we conceded the goal, because we weren't looking sharp. We were very slow, lethargic in what we were doing in that second half. And we were inviting Southampton to put us under some pressure. It's a top-level team. So that's one Arteta clear, and we were leading, so that's it. You made the change before they came back into the game. It could have made a difference because Southampton was always going to be chasing the game because they were down. So turning the pace down that left-hand side would have been proving more significant because Southampton would have been chasing an equalizer. So that was an error there and a significant part for me in the game there. Then we conceded a goal, obviously. But he brought off Martin Odegaard when he was now involved more in the game. And there's nobody close to Odegaard in terms of what we need in that role from Odegaard. Nobody. Vera, that came on, and I'm not saying Vera can't come on for Odegaard because he has done so, and he's very direct and he kicks the ball very well. Very good footballer. But he's no Martin Odegaard. And when Martin Odegaard was pulled from the game, he made a run. The ball went up, but he made the run, got there, and it was a good finish. Then he slipped a beautiful ball into Nketiah. He dragged the shot wide, even though he took a deflection. So those were moments before Odegaard was brought. He was getting now involved. He was getting back on the ball, and he was looking busy. And he's our best player in that regard. So I would not have brought out Martin Odegaard at the time. So it was the wrong time to brought out Martin Odegaard when he was getting more in the game again and he looked lively again. Arsenal was having more possession now at that stage. That was a mistake again. And then to compound the mistake, the decision, the substitute was really poor. He was really poor in the game. They didn't get up to the pace of the game. He's not technically as good. He's more of a runner. Run into space, get the ball, kick to goal. He's not going to put his foot on the ball and twist, turn, and get us out of a problem like that. And he lost some position in some crucial areas. So that change was not a great change. And then Nketiah was also a bad change. I don't think, after two wide players, I don't think Martinelli was the worst. I think Martinelli was doing more things well than Saka. So Saka should have been the one that would have pulled. Yeah? If they didn't want to take off Jesus, and Jesus has not scored since that line. We need some goal from Gabriel Jesus. He has not scored since the North London derby. We're not going to talk about another team today. I'm disappointed. If we had conceded last week, I would not have been disappointed because Leeds, I think, was fantastic. They were played, and there's not much I thought could have been done last week because how quick, well they played, movement and all that, I thought we defended well enough, and we were lucky for some parts of the game last week. I would not have been upset, but this week I'm disappointed. Martinelli should not have been the wide player that come off the field. So I'm disappointed in Arteta. Very disappointed in his performance in that second. Team dropped, he didn't react. He reacted when he conceded. Changes were wrong. Should not have been Martinelli. No way, no how it should have been Martinelli who was pulled. Should have been Xhaka if he didn't want to take out Gabriel Jesus. And there's no way Nketiah has shown that he can impact the game in wide areas. Like, even though he wasn't an out-and-out being wide player, he was a little bit narrow and more inside the 18-yard box. Fine, because he wanted somebody closer to Gabriel Jesus. But he didn't get up to the pace of the game. So I think the blame should be placed on Arteta people for these 2 points being dropped. And as we get closer to the January window, I will make some suggestions, because clearly we're going to need, if we seriously, when you look at Man City, we're going to need some additional players. We're definitely going to need somebody with real quality in the wide area. No joke player. We will need somebody with real quality. I think if we don't get an injury to Gabriel Jesus, it's okay to come on in games that we're leading and he wants his pace on the counter. He moves well off the ball. Doesn't need to work on the finishing. I think he can be worked with, but I think we need another quality wide player for sure. And we need a central defensive mid that is good in case Partey goes down again. I think those are 2 main areas. If we can find a striker that can back, that is more experienced than Nketiah, and can, that's fine. It's going to be difficult to find out. But we need more significantly, we need another high quality wide player. And we need somebody else in that central defensive midfield group. We have enough defenders. They have a mistake in them every game, as you saw, a sloppy giveaway again. But I think we are okay in that regard, and the keeper is fantastic. But if you get a high quality winger to put Martinelli and put Xhaka under pressure. Saka, not Xhaka. Xhaka is playing well. I think we could seriously win this Premier League title, providing that these players are fit enough throughout the season. But Arteta, you cost us all 3 points this morning. I don't know what you think, people. Put your comments in the comment section, Arsenal supporters. That's my views. Like, subscribe, share. I'm out.